Dun, 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 dun.
Land bids are crashing. Or is it? So welcome to episode of Singapore Real Estate Explained, brought to you by the JNA investment team. My name is Christian.
This is Grace.
And today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic that came on the market about low land bids. The land bid recently that came out is not as high as what it is in the past. So is there a crash coming soon? And this is what we're going to dissect today. But Grace, maybe we can explain what is happening.
Yes, so there have been two plots that the government has actually granted at Zion Road as well as Upper Thomson, and people are afraid or people are concerned on why the sudden drop in land bids.
Yes, indeed. And it's something that the clients have been asking us, like, is the market crashing Singapore real estate? Is the government finally giving up and trying to crash the market and deflate the market? So there's something that is very interesting because under all this news, all this fear, there's a certain reason behind it, and we have uncovered it. So today we will dissect deeper into this and see how we can unravel the mystery behind it.
Because usually governments actually have a reserve price for every plot, and if there are cases where the developers actually bid too low, the governments don't really release the plot until it hits the reserve price. But for these two plots, even though the price that was bidded was under what people expected the reserve price to be, government actually released these land bids. So today we can dive a little bit deeper on what are the reasonings that the government are accepting such low land bids in today's market.
Right, so let's move on to the first phenomenon, which is basically the long stay service apartment scheme. So this particular pilot program actually came out recently for the Zion Road. It's a very new program. It's a 3-month stay program. So why we're talking about this is because this is one of the key underlying reasons why certain land bids are not bidded based on what they expected to be. And what this service apartment concept is, because currently they notice a lot of Singaporeans in transition, waiting for new homes, for renovation, and for anyone who look here for short-term work or study, they decided came out for this new pilot program where developer who bidded certain land bids, like for example, the one at Zion Road, they are required to build this long stay service apartment. Okay, and by this growing demand for diverse housing options, they wanted to create this particular asset class such that it cater to this new need that we see.
So essentially, in short, is that out of all the residential units, a percentage of it has to be reserved for service apartments, meaning the developers cannot immediately sell it for profit, but rather it would be a long-term passive income that they'll be receiving, which is a very first pilot program. So developers are also a little bit wary on how this whole take-up is going to be for the land itself.
Yeah, and the key thing, it's not all developers are experienced in doing service apartment, doing hotel chains. So there's something that you can dissect. In the next slide, you can see over here. Okay, so there are two parcels over here at Zion Road. Okay, there's one is parcel A and parcel B. So parcel A, if you notice, it's actually highlighted in light orange. It's service apartment and residential units. And located at Zion area, okay, they need to at least cater to about 535 long stay service apartment. And once again, if you look at Upper Thomson area, another new land bid, parcel A and parcel B. Well, parcel B is launched, okay, in the market as a normal residential plot. Parcel A is actually the new scheme under service apartment residential units.
So the unique thing about these two plots is that somehow the government just decided to launch side by side in two areas, one for full residential and one for not half, but part residential, part service apartment.
Yeah, so it's quite exciting to see how it will turn out. And this does affect the land bid prices. We'll see later on how it works. Okay, so first, let's talk about Zion Road. What really happened, as I mentioned just now. So, fun fact, it's bidded by CDL. Okay, site area is about 15,000 square meter, quite decent size, 99 years. And they are required to build at least 290 service apartment units, about 20,000 square meter at least, okay, and 740 residential units. And one thing to note is, not many developers mentioned as well can really beat this line. So CDL, if you know, they are well known for there's some of the hotels they have done. They have well known for building this kind of service apartment scheme, and that's why there are only a few developers who are actually participating in this bid.
In fact, both of the plots that are actually under the service apartment scheme actually only receive one bid each.
Yes.
So you can see that I think developers are still kind of exploring, doing their research on whether they can actually take up such projects. So I would say the demand for these plots are not that strong.
Yes, indeed. And that's something that we can understand a little more. But the location-wise, actually located quite nicely near to Havelock Station, within 1 minute walk away, very convenient, and 5 minutes walk to Great World City Station.
So one thing to also note why maybe there has been one bid is just that beside it, there's actually the second plot that is fully residential. So there could be developers who are maybe waiting out for this fully residential because it's a bit more, I would say, conventional. So for them, they have more experience in this kind of plot. So this could be the reason why for these plots with service apartments, not many developers are bidding for it because they're just waiting out for the next plots.
Yes, indeed. All right. And one thing to take note is based on estimated land bid, okay, estimated per square per plot ratio is at 1,002, which is lower than something you will see later at Riviera. But one thing to take note is based on estimated costs, okay, based on past projects that have done by CDL, who bid there by CDL, like for example, the one at Champion Way, which is at Woodlands area, and also the one at Toa Payoh area, the upcoming land bid. The average markup, okay, based on land bid is about 88%. So it's total about the costing, okay, of 2,000 million, which is $2 billion. Okay, and one thing to note, the estimated break-even price about 2,261 per square feet. So this is something that, take note, it accounted for area harmonization.
Yeah.
But one thing that they didn't account for, okay, if you understand a little more, which we'll dissect later, is about how does service apartment really affect the pricing over here. Because, take note, on all the land that is built, I mean for the construction that is built, can be sold as a condo. So right now they have a partition 20,000 square meter, which is quite a decent land plot, about close to 25% thereabout, to cater to rental. So they have to earn a profit margin for elsewhere. So this is not factored into this break even.
And because this is the first plot that's happening, you cannot really compare this plot to a very regular plot that we previously seen as normal GLS. So in that sense, it is actually expected that developers will bid it lower just because it's something new that they are still exploring and they are not very certain of the risk that comes with it also.
Yes, indeed. So let's look at break-even margin-wise. You can see it ranges from 248 per square for 10% up to about 2827 for 25%. But honestly, it could be even higher, which I mentioned. You can see in this particular slide below is about 24 to 26. That's something that's predicted. Our starting price of 27. But honestly, on our side, okay, it's 30% lower than Fraser Property winning bid of this particular project called Riviera. And why is it important to understand this? Okay, if you look at something that is service apartment status, as mentioned just now, they cannot use the entire land plot to sell.
Yeah.
So what they do is, for example, this service apartment land plot, it could be a 3 to 4% yield, which is very low. And they are not able to earn from there.
So it's like the money is locked in, but technically developers earn from, I would say, like flipping.
Yes,
like
correct.
in every development that they do, right, they get a certain sum and they move on to the next project. But for this one itself, their funds are actually locked in because they cannot immediately release the condos to get the money. So in that sense, their returns would be over a long term as compared to what they've done previously.
And what some developers want to do is that, hey, because I cannot earn from this particular service apartment, it's a yield play, which doesn't earn much for the developer looking at 3-4% yield for that particular margin to put in. They're looking at least much higher. So what they want to do is they factor this profit margin used to build a service apartment into the residential portion. And that is something you may foresee in the market. And we did do a calculation about this. So if you're keen to find out more, do approach any of our brokers and more than happy to share with you how to derive at the final break-even price for this. Okay, but this is something that reminds me of Marina side, where there's a white side with hotel. Those that in terms of transiting to sale price when it comes to a condo unit will be much higher. Okay, so next let's take a look at this particular area. Grace, can we ask through this?
So I think besides the fact that there is another plot coming up at Zion Road, which is the Parcel B, we also have another 2 more plots that's right beside Great World City MRT, basically called the River Valley Green Parcel A as well as River Valley Green Parcel B. So for now, River Valley Green Parcel A has been confirmed with 380 residential units, and the River Valley Green Parcel B will also be under the service apartment scheme with 360 residential and 220 service apartment units. So you can see that it's not just one plot at Zion Road, but people are also waiting for the ones developers are still waiting for the ones beside the Great World City. So this could also be another reason why developers are waiting out and the demand for the current bid at Zion is so low.
Especially when and most people will wait for things that I'm familiar with, like the one at Zion Road Parcel B, which is a pure residential, along with River Valley Green Parcel A, which is pure residential.
And I would say it's a smaller scale. So in that sense, developers usually when it goes too big, they're a little bit more wary because of the costing that they have to put in. So usually they would like something of a mid-sized development.
Yes, indeed. Okay, and if you look at the comparison with the one that's a side by side, this is called Riviera. Okay, Yakim Street, actually it was an old zouk. Okay, now divided into a new condo, 451 units. Recently collected key and TOP. The average price is about 2,008 per square feet.
Yeah.
Okay, right now. A lot of them, you know about background of Riviera. They actually did deep price from last time of 2007 to 8 to 2004, and now it's back to 2008. So how will it affect? Let's take a look at the comparison. So you can see over here, in terms of land bid, a lot of people are wary. They say that, hey, Zion Road is 1,002. Riviera is 1,007. What is happening? Okay, and Riviera break-even price is 2,431 per square feet. Okay, which is higher than your old land bid. But one thing as mentioned, it doesn't account for the service apartment, which is very, very crucial to factor in all this margin in. So this is something that we will dissect further if you want for a one-to-one consult, and we'll dissect what exactly is the actual break-even cost for Zion Road. All right? Okay, and to look at Riviera, you must understand, yes, the land bid may be low, but doesn't mean that developer will sell low, because they always benchmark based on what is a TOP project, what is a PSF over there. And minimally, they will at least sell usually based on past records at the same price.
So you can see the per square feet here have gone up to, let's say, about 3.1, averagely about 2.8. So it's very unlikely that Zion Parcel A, even though they got it at the lower land bid, I'm very unlikely that developers are going to launch it low.
Yes, indeed. And it's something that you have to factor into consideration when it comes to the open market. Okay, like for example, Jadescape. Like one example where they bought it low, but they still sell high because they know that in the market,
people are going to buy it.
You're going to buy it. And they price it just nicely, the same PSF, or rather higher PSF than your surrounding resale units. So it's some things you do have to consider accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay. And next, let's take a look at the Upper Thomson Road, which is something very interesting too. Okay, 32,000 square meter of land. Okay, GLS 99 years. Total
very big plot also at 941. Almost 1,000 units.
And it's built by Goko Land and Hong Leong. That, as usual, they are the one that conquer Lentor. I guess they are conquering Upper Thomson in general to control the land bids there. Next, let's take a look at the location. Grace, can you bring us through?
Yep. So location-wise, it's actually right beside Springleaf MRT. Again, there are two plots, right? Parcel A, Parcel B. This one is Parcel B that is actually not within the service apartment scheme. But what we did realize is that even though it's not within the service apartment scheme, the land bid is still lower than what we normally would see in the area itself.
Yes, indeed. And this location is actually very familiar. It's where I eat my Springleaf prata. Although now I'm trying to go on a diet for CrossFit. So join me soon. Okay, but regardless of that, let's take a look at what are the land bids. Okay, and something very interesting, which is the estimated per square feet per plot ratio is 905 per square feet per plot ratio. And if you look at factoring the past project, 81%, the break-even is surprisingly low. It's 1636 per square feet, 7.8% less than the recent Goko Land kind of bids for land bids wise. So what exactly happening? And if you look at the 10%, 25%, it's 1,000 and 2,000 per square feet. So this is something that people may be afraid. They say, hey, it's a land bid. The government purposely crashing the prices. What is really happening in the area? So aside from the fact that Spring, yes, it's slightly further up to the north side, but there's a hidden reason behind about why is there a low land bid. So let's understand a little more.
Yeah. Okay, so for the Parcel B itself, it actually includes a former classroom building of the former Upper Thomson Secondary School. So actually under conserved building. So for developers, they're going to take over, I think it's not the first plot of land. Another example would be like Avenue South, where, you know, if developers want to take over this land, right, they have to promise, it's like an agreement with the government that they are going to conserve that particular building. So their design of the development will have to build around it. I would say you have to restore some of the, let's say, roofings or some of the structures, and you cannot really change it. So there is a whole, I would say article, there is a whole document where you can search up on the ULA website where they really go in depth on what have to be conserved. But in short, basically, some of the conservation restrictions would be like building height, including a no-build zone, where there are some areas where you're not allowed to build on it. There are some areas where you have to follow, like, let's say, a 5-story height restriction. So it's not as, it doesn't follow like the regular rulings for a normal plot of GLS land. Yep. So with that being said, this actually translates to higher costs for the developers because they have to change their design to fit in the restrictions of the conservation building. And I think to also note that they are actually surrounded by a lot of nature reserve in that sense. So their structural design also have to kind of fit in with the entire environment itself.
Yes, indeed. And this, in fact, is something new. The government have always been, I mean, it's all in the fine prints. Because you had to read into the document and getting the report out so that we can figure out. Because that's something that we did really want to find out why. That's why we went to
So you can go and read. If not, we really summarize it for you.
Yes. So I hope that this will give a very quick understanding of it.
So if you scroll in, right, you can kind of see like, this kind of buildings that are here. There are some like, let's say, brick walls that the government will want to kind of conserve it. These would be the things that, the developers would have to have an agreement with the developer to actually restore these things.
Imagine you're an ex-student of this school, then you buy a place here. It's going, wow. That's
Stay in your classroom.
I used to be studying here. Wow, that's quite a nice, interesting idea. But yes, it's something they want to do, to not like tear down buildings as such and conserve them for heritage purposes.
Yes.
All right.
So you can see this is basically a breakdown where, they kind of break down in terms of where the boundary line is. Like this part over here, it has the low height zone, means you cannot build more than 5 stories. And then here are the normal ones, and then the white ones are where it's a no build zone. So even though technically you're paying for it, it's like a setback boundary for some landlords, where some setbacks are bigger than the others. So the land value is also lower than normal.
Yes, indeed. All right. So that's why at the end of the day, you can see 905 per square feet, 7.8% lower than the price submitted previously by GoCoLand. And it's something that is very new once in the market. And being GoCoLand, they want to conquer the area. So that's something that they just submitted a bid, and it does hit the government basic land bid. And that's something that they want to do to encourage more new ideas into this new land bids.
Yeah, so even though this is a fully residential, this is something that developers will have to consider when they actually take up such plots where there's a conservation building around. So the next one would then be the second parcel, which is A. So do you think how do you think the interest will be for that parcel?
Honestly, I think it will GoCoLand win a bit again at our bidding, because they really, GoCoLand is well known to take over lands that they want to have dominance in. So that's something that I believe it will be higher, because it's a mixed use zoning. But since with service apartment status, that does trigger a little bit of uncertainty. So that's something you can stay tuned to take a look at what will happen later on.
Yeah, I think personally, I feel like not a lot of developers may be interested in that second plot, just because service apartment, let's say in Zion Road, it may be something that's more relatable because people kind of rent, or expats rent in that area itself. But for Upper Thomson, it's not really a very usual place for people to have service apartments or for people to actually rent over there. Yeah, so I think this will be something that developers have to really think about when they actually bid for this plot of land.
Yes, so it's something which you have to keep a close look on. Right. And if you compare to the previous resale, or rather the previous new launch that came out called The Essence, it's a small land plot, 4,282 square meter of land. You can see the per plot ratio in 2018 when they bid is 680 or 681 per square feet plot ratio. Right now, yes, 2024, Upper Thomson, they actually have an increase, almost a 20-30% increase. So it's not too bad. Not too it's not like it's lower than the previous land, then that will be like government purposely crushing the market. Which quite unlikely because they still have to, reserve a certain land bid to make sure the price go up based on inflation, which will happen to the Marina side where they just stop the land bid and say, it's too low, I want it to be higher. So these are things that we have to take note. Okay, the government, they're not there to crash the market, but making sure the market grow by introducing the right margins and making sure that if you ever sell to the market, it does push the market price in the long-term run. Okay, so in terms of one last thing to take note is same as Zion Road, it doesn't mean that, hey, it's bought cheap means the other will sell cheap. Okay, you can see that the Essence itself is already hitting 1,600 to 1,700 per square feet for the 2 beders. Okay, for the 1 bedder, that was bought long time ago as a long time ago kind of prices. But one thing to take note is that at the end of the day, the developer will also want to match the same price. And that's when you must understand, developers, they are not there just to drop price and sell lower. They want to match a price in the market. And that translates to actually higher profit margin, higher price, and make close to 2,000 to 2,100 per square feet. All right, so there's something to take note.
So in summary, I think it's normal from the market where, the land bid starts falling and people are concerned on why is such a phenomenon happening. The last time we saw this was because of area harmonization.
Yes.
So this one we have to kind of understand, look a bit deeper behind each different plot. So let's say for Zion Road, because they are under the service apartment scheme, and then for Upper Thomson itself is actually under the conservation scheme.
Yes,
So
indeed.
there's always reasons behind why developers actually have to lower the land bid, just because they have to work around some things. Their costs are going to be higher. So at some certain point, they have to lower the cost from the land bid itself.
So I like how government actually does it very quietly. Like in the sense of like it creates fear in the market, because people will just be like, hey, land bid drop, then they'll fear the market, which help to soften the market a little. But at the same time, when you translate the actual sale price and developer, people are like, hey, what happened? Like Lentor mentioned, very good example. The first few land bids that came out for area harmonization, it did not cheap. It wasn't a piece of PSF price, but it was still worth to enter because of the quantum.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that behind the scenes which you can stay tuned to watch our video, like why Jervis, my business partner, actually bought into Lentor mentioned there's a reason behind that. And the key thing is people always think that it will go cheaper and cheaper, but it doesn't mean that way when it comes to actually selling the unit 1 year to 2 years later.
And I think developers also government is also putting a lot of thought into it, because for this particular plot that was under service apartment, I think they took about 10 to 12 days from when they actually submitted to them accepting it. Usually it takes about 1 to 2 days. So you can see that, they are pondering on, okay, such a low land bid, should I accept it, right? But I think from a government's point of view, they also understand that, it's a first pilot program. There are risks involved. Not many developers are willing to take up the risk. Only certain developers who have the capacity, who have the experience are willing to. And that's why the government is also saying, okay, let's give it a try to see how this goes.
Yes, indeed. So that's something that we are very excited to see how this will turn out, because it does present opportunities. And with this, we have identified units in the market that is worth considering through this opportunity. And that's when we are able to advise our client, because we get data that people don't, and we make decisions based on that rather than market fear.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and with this, we come to the end of the video. And this is something we love to do. We hope that you really enjoy this data-driven approach, because we want to cut through market noises and be able to make decisions not based on fear, but based on data. Okay, and you'll find out more of this investment video, our upcoming home tour, or any freebies, any updates. Okay, do join our Telegram group channel by clicking on this QR code right here.
Yeah, and if you're in the market looking for your first investment home and you don't know where to start and you want to have a second opinion or second thought, you can also reach out to our WhatsApp channel and we can have a chat with you. So that's all for today. I'm Grace.
I'm Christian.
We'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.